All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Alex, David, and Tarek, are you ready to rock? Yeah?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. We're ready. Welcome, everybody, to our first webinar for Nomads VA. Thank you for joining us today. The topic is the future of remote life. This has been a crazy year for everyone in a personal way, but of course, the professional side also saw a massive shakeup. This is a whole year of monumental shifts. And today we're talking to you about what it's going to look like in the future and how we see it from our perspective in the future. So remote work is one of those is not really a new trend, but it's definitely become more popular in the last year. So according to an Upwork survey that they've done recently, 1 in 4 Americans will be working remotely this year, which is a massive change from 2018 when only 7% of the people in the US had the option to work from home. So it's interesting that while I have been I have been traveling much less this year because of the pandemic, but I know that many of you listening in today and many of the current nomads that I've spoken with are nomadic or remote workers because of the pandemic. And I think that, a lot of people are enjoying this flexibility in their life and the different way of working. So who knows, this might be something that you will be doing for the next years to come. Twitter, Spotify, and Dropbox have already announced that they will be moving to permanent working from home setups. And Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook announced that half of his company's employees will work remotely in the next 5 to 10 years. And that's quite the workforce. Today, we're going to talk about a few topics. I will list them and then we'll go into them later after I introduce you to our wonderful panel. In this meetup, we're going to talk about how we envision the future of remote workers and digital nomads, what changes are coming to work, cities, society, and communities, which is one of my favorite topics, and what do you think needs to be improved in a new way of life? And we're going to talk about that with our panel members. And what do you see as a positive in all this change? So let me introduce you to our great panel group. I think we lost someone just now because David is on a train from Amsterdam to London. So something must have happened, but that's fine. Maybe he'll tune in again. And maybe David, you can ping Tato to leave you back in. So first of all, we have Alex Rufus. Alex Rufus is Spanish, but she was brought up in Belgium. She is a full potential business coach working with incredible human beings based all over the world. To date, she started 7 business ventures, coaches hundreds of powerful leaders one-on-one, and you've held more than 50 talks, Alex. And this is super impressive. You're incredibly passionate about empowering humans around the world to own their full potential, full professional potential, and leverage it to create their most fulfilling lives. Thank you for joining us, Alex. Up next, we have David just came back from, and funny enough, Alex and David happen to be in the same city, but very temporarily since David is on his way to London. David Gamboa, after more than 10 years in the corporate world, David Gamboa decided to take the leap and break free from the land of cubicles. What was thought to be a successful career for most lacked any true meaning, purpose, and joy. An avid traveler, creative by heart, and fascinated by the power of mindfulness when it comes to improving the quality of our lives, David now works on redesigning the way we live, work, and travel. And this is why David from Live Beyond is with us today. Hi, David. How's it working out on the train?
Hi everyone. Hope it does. Yeah,
Yeah,
living the remote life here on a train from Amsterdam to London. Thank you for having me.
we can hear you loud and clear, so that's good. Last but absolutely not least, we have Tarek Colusi. I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong, Tarek. Tarek is a social entrepreneur with an MBA in honors from New York University and a career of work in top organizations like Goldman Sachs. In 2013, Tarek left the corporate world behind in an effort to explore the actual world. And after traveling to over 100 countries, running 25 marathons, and supporting social causes, Tarek launched Nomads Giving Back, with the vision to inspire you to give back to the communities you call home away from home. So thank you for being here today, Tarek. You're in Bali, so it's a bit late probably for you. Thanks for joining us anyways.
Absolutely, happy to be here.
And in the background, I would still like to highlight Tato is here with us today as well. He's supporting mostly, and he's very busy behind the scenes. But I want to give a shout out to Tato as well, who many will know is he is the center point of Nomads in Buenos Aires. So if you've been, you probably know him. He's been putting on lots of amazing events in Buenos Aires for the Nomad and for the startup community, for the remote community. He's been involved with co-living spaces. He's organized amazing conferences in Buenos Aires before. So thank you for being here today with us as well, Tato. All right, shall we get into the grid of this topic today, guys? By now, I think everyone will have joined us. So back to my first question, how we envision the future of remote workers and digital nomads. Alex, I'd like to ask you what you think about this question.
Okay, yes. The future, I mean, there's more and more possibilities to organize your life in a fulfilling way, right, remotely. And so, I don't know, at least in my point of view, how I approach, my situation and how I work with others is always starting from the individual, the person itself, like what do they like, prefer, their profile, and then lifestyle designing around the person, right? And that very often, involves kind of remote working one way or another. Based on your profile, in your individuality. So you can just design it however you want. We have the internet, we have plenty of tools to make it work. And it's not that complicated. It's, it can be easier than maybe it sounds at the beginning. So very shortly.
Thank you, Alex. David, what's your thought about this? Maybe you dropped off, but the question is, how do you envision the future of remote workers and digital nomads?
Yeah, the future is quite exciting. We're actually seeing a 5 to 10 year acceleration in something that was meant to happen, which is the complete location independence of knowledge workers. So what is my view that's going to happen? Hopefully we not only are independent from location, but also from time. That means that people can do work wherever, whenever they want to do it. That's what's called distributed work, and that's asynchronous work and not co-located. That's where we are hopefully heading. With the pandemic, we've had the good effect of companies accelerating their processes to allow people a bit more flexibility, but also the bad thing about people burning out at home. So can you hear me well there? So people are burning out at home. Some companies are actually calling people back to the office, and we're going to see a little bit of a delay, I expect. But hopefully the world realizes that flexible distributed work is the future of work. So I think it's going to be very, very exciting. People able to work anywhere around the world at any time.
Thank you for sharing your point of view, David. Tarek, how do you envision the future? What does it look like to you?
It's a great question. Thanks for having me today. I agree with Alex and David. And I mean, right now, David's a perfect illustration on how far we can go. Taking this conference call all around, being aired all around the world from a train in transit as he's nomading temporarily. In my past life, I was in the corporate world in New York City. And the last 4 years I was there from 2009 to 2013, I actually was in a remote working role. And So when I began my nomad journey and I fell into these nomad hubs like where I am now in Bali, I just fell in love with the movement because people are leaving the conventional life behind and chasing down their dreams, sometimes working for a large company, but often entrepreneurial efforts. And I just saw the potential. And I think that even before the pandemic, I thought that this was only going to grow, not if, but how much and how fast. And then, as awful as the pandemic has been for the world, it truly has accelerated the ability and the support from the whole movement of remote work. I mean, I think the two things that was holding back the nomad movement was large companies, often the big best companies wanted you in the office. And secondly, governments made it a little bit more difficult. Now governments are coming out with visas and making it easier. And I think once the pandemic settles down, it'll be even accelerated because they're going to be competing for talent that's mobile. And now companies, like you said, Rosanna, like Facebook and other large companies are saying there is no office to come back to. So I have a feeling in like 5 or 10 years, it's going to grow 50 times, 100 times. And, people are going to be wondering, there were nomads before the pandemic? I don't think they're going to believe us.
That's funny. Let's see what happens. Maybe they'll find some of our fossils. But that's great. That I think that's an interesting way of looking at the future. I certainly hope that it gives us much more flexibility and that it just is going to make everyone's life much better. But to go into the next question, what changes are coming in work, cities, and societies and communities? Because right now, the way it works for most people is that they are born in a place. For most people, of course, a lot of people move to different countries or cities, but let's just assume that the majority. So you're born in a place, you make friends at school, you make friends at university later, you make friends at work, or maybe at the sports club, or maybe you're religious, you meet your community at work, at church. This is going to have a massive impact on community and how we perceive our own community. So, Alex, what is your thought about that? What is going to change for community, society, but also work and cities?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a very relevant theme. I mean, in my own personal life and experience, I've never really had one home with one physical community. So for me, this is normal. I was born in one country and then grew up in another and then lived in many other countries before actually nomading for 2 years full time. So it's just, there's, again, the internet, where you can make connections with the right people, right? And I have, for me, my network, global network, right, that I maintain and I grow online, right? And so, and as I travel and I organize events and I do talks and things like that, I take the opportunity, of course, to meet face-to-face people, right? But there's many other ways to, for me, it's kind of normal and it's not, I didn't really decide it, but I just, as I move and as I evolve, like I just change places and I don't have one, I've never had one physical, like, community, static, so to speak. But it's just making that switch that you can make, amazing connections online, I guess, right? And maybe afterwards meet face to face. So it starts maybe online sometimes and then meet face to face. It happens all the time through my programs, through people in my network as well. So maybe shifting the mindset around it and just thinking it's fine, right? It's fine to just make connections with. It's also easier, I feel, like niching down, right? Finding really the people you really connect with online, because through all kinds of conferences and events and things like that, and then meeting face to face, it's almost more efficient than trying to bond now with the people in your neighborhood that maybe you have nothing in common with, right? So I don't know. For me, it's great. It's efficient. It has so many possibilities. So I love it. It's shifting like this,
Thank you for sharing. This is a great tip. Start online and then make it offline, right?
Yeah.
But this is we've got LinkedIn, we got ways to connect online in so many different ways. for sure. David, what's your thought about this? Just to repeat the question to you, what changes are coming for work, cities, society, and communities? And you can feel free to talk about some particular one of those four, if you prefer.
Yeah. It's a very good and huge question. So I expect huge changes in all of them. Talking about cities, the effect of what's going to happen to the actual city. People are moving away.
That's the train for you. Let's see. Let's give it 3 seconds. I think he dropped off. Tarek, shall I repeat the question to you, or did you?
Sure.
Did you get it? Yeah. So what changes are coming to work, cities, society, and communities?
Yeah, it's a really amazing question. At the end of the day, what is a community? And I think historically it was rooted based on like a geographic spot where people lived for generations. So it, and it also based on sometimes religion, based on, what people do in that particular location. Now I feel like it's changed the game in terms of community is more based on shared values and beliefs. And I feel like, I've tapped into various different types of communities in the world as through my nomading around the world. And what I love about it is that you can actually choose and create your own community. I mean, Rosanna, you've done a beautiful job with creating a community in Lisbon around all of this. And what draws them to that is, what kind of values, what kind of experiences people want to have. And I think that's really like a better way to do things rather than what you're born into. It's really what you want to become. And I really believe energies are contagious. So it's important that you surround yourself with the people that you admire and want to live like. And that's one of the best things I think about having the freedom to be where you want to go, because you can actually seek that out, and it really accelerates our personal growth as well as our professional growth, because you can go after whatever you want.
Yeah. So you're saying seek out people who you have something in common with, maybe you share values with, or even hobbies, or just maybe the mindset. So you're saying, and is this actually, to go in a little bit deeper and give people some help on this, how do you think people can do that?
Yeah, sure. So one important thing is, since we're often living in a place that we're not from, I think it's really important to acknowledge that we want to be somewhere because we want to connect locally. And I feel that a lot of these nomad hubs and cities around the world, sometimes it's easy to revert to your comfort zone and hang around with the people that speak the same language and are from the same place. But what I found like extra valuable from my personal journey is to step outside the comfort zone and really try to meet people that have different beliefs and challenge your assumptions. And so I think that what's really cool is integrating more locally, and also just meeting people that are different than you, because I think that's the best way to get perspective and to really grow, is to challenge your own assumptions and follow your intuition. What kind of community do you want to be part of?
So meeting more locals when you're traveling to a place. Thank you, Tarek. David, you dropped off for a second again. I'm going to repeat the question to you. What changes are coming in work, city, society, and communities?
Yeah, sorry about that. Let me just try and wrap it up really quickly. So it's a huge question. Lots of changes expected in societies, cities, how things are going to develop, work as well, talent being able to be tapped around the globe. I wanted to say that in a few words, what we can expect is freedom, right? A new way of living and a new way of flexibility that will provide that freedom that we always have been looking for. However, for that freedom to actually happen, we need to tackle the main pre-pandemic problem, which was the lack of trust between the employers and the employees. And for that, we need to really double down on skills and habit creation right now in order to make that happen. And that's why Tarek's work with Nomad Skillshare is so important. What we do at Live Beyond and what Alex does, empowering human by human, the toolkit that they need in order to succeed and thrive in this flexible workplace. That I believe is going to really give us the freedom in the future. Did you get that? You're mute.
Rosanna, you're muted.
Thank you. So yeah, you couldn't hear both of us. David, it was hard to hear you actually. So I think what is best is that we wrap it up with you. And I'd like to highlight some important things about you before you go. You can find David's business on livebeyond.global. The next retreat that he's organizing will be to Morocco. Did I get that right, David? Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely something to check out. He does all kinds of retreats for travelers, for remote workers, future remote workers, for teams. So definitely have a look. There's some really inspirational videos about Live Beyond on YouTube as well. Thank you so much for joining us today, David, and have a great trip to London. See you soon.
For the tech issues, see you soon, everyone. I really hope you have a good time and be connected. Reach out.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, David. Good luck with the trip. But just to add on the question, because I think a lot is going to change for the communities, as you just highlighted, guys, but also cities in general. I think, especially during lockdown, a lot of people in big cities like London, New York, Paris, found themselves in very small-sized apartments paying very high rents, thinking, why am I here again? So I do think there might be a potential diaspora or maybe a potential, a group of people moving out of the cities, going more to rural areas, which for the economy could mean massive shifts, right? For in a lot of cities, the capitals, people earn a lot of money, and in rural areas, the salaries are far lower. This could all potentially change. It will be interesting to see as well what it does to the quality of the internet in rural areas. I'm obviously our buddy Elon Musk is working on Starlink at the moment, promising strong Wi-Fi all over the world in rural areas. So hopefully this will be something, or there will be other solutions. But yeah, I can't wait to see the differences we'll see in cities very soon. I want to move on to the next question. What do you think needs to be improved in this new way of life? What do you think, Alex?
Big question.
It is.
Answering from my perspective and what I do daily and what I'm passionate about, I just see more and more this kind of need and tendency of people like reconnecting to themselves and who they really are and wanting to design a life that really fits them and aligns with them, right? And I do this every day with my work, with my business, with my events and everything. Is I see so many people just kind of like, not accepting anymore. Maybe our parents, like went for traditional jobs and that was kind of the standard. And now more and more there's this kind of purpose-driven, work orientation where people they are not going to go for the regular thing. They really want maximum alignment and fulfillment, right? In their lives, personal, but also professional. This is just something that I see, that I sense, that I work on. And I think it's really beautiful. But that means, just very often what I see a lot is just, people beginning to learn about themselves, who they are. I personally believe every person has this unique blueprint that is meant to be leveraged for a positive impact in a unique way in the world. And I just guide people to get there, right? To get to that clarity and figure that out for themselves. And it looks different for everyone, right? But through this, you can just figure out very often, you end up with an idea that you want to be developing and working remotely from somewhere, right? Just location independent. These are typical things that people want: more freedom with your time, with your schedule, with everything. And so I just see, I don't know if this answers your question, but I just see these tendencies, happening more and more. And I love to facilitate it, but just, I boil it down always to the individual and who they are and what is going to fulfill them and give them a sense of purpose and meaning, and that they are not wasting their time, that they are maximizing it, right? And then we build something awesome around it, right? And in my case, very often it just looks like people quitting their jobs 9 to 5 and just starting their own thing. And I always make this joke that there must be a club somewhere of bosses that just complain about about all these people quitting. But if it's not aligned, there's more and more people wanting to create a life like this. So I'm all for it. Yeah.
What do you think about this, Tarek? What should change to make this new way of life possible?
Yeah, good question. So there's a few ways to take this question. So I think technology-wise, we just saw that it was pretty cool that David could join him with Train, but not well enough that he could stay on, unfortunately. But, and you mentioned the Starlink project about trying to get better access to Wi-Fi in rural areas. So I think there's technology needs. I think there's governmental progress that needs to be done in terms of making it easier for people to legally integrate into a new country, whether it's regarding taxes, visas, etc. I think society-wise, there's some challenges there too, because there's the problem of gentrification, where higher income people are coming into lower income places, and it messes up the economics of the locals. So trying to tackle that in the most equitable way is a big challenge. And I think individually as well, I think we all crave connection, and, being a remote worker, whether it's in your home city or being a nomad on the road, it can be a lonely journey. And especially for some people that are new to it or introverted. And so how do we handle those challenges that come from that? And I think there's a lot of great organizations that are trying to make it easier for people to meet and connect. And like I said, Rosanna, I really have a lot of respect for you and what you built with Lisbon Digital Nomads. It's a great example of creating that sense of community for people that might be transplants. So those are, I think, 4 macro things that come to mind in terms of challenges for the new way of working.
Thank you. I love those. I love how you listed those things. Those are, oh man, we could go on for hours if we dive deeper into each of those topics. What I also think that needs to be changed about the way we work, and maybe Alex, you also can talk to that, is the way that we communicate with teams and with the people we work with normally at the office, going like, "Hey Bob, did you get that form?" Or it's a completely different thing. The way we look at time, in my opinion, I think that we have indulged in time wastery to a level that is not sustainable. And this reflects in the way that we work. We are at the office. I found myself constantly interrupted and not actually getting that productive time that I needed to get stuff done. And another thing that I think has to change in the way that we work is to shift our industrial times mindset from input to focus on output. So this is a situation in which I don't care if you're sitting on a chair for 8 hours or for 4. If you get the thing done that you're supposed to be getting done or achieve the numbers that you're supposed to be achieving, then that should be all that matters. And and I completely agree with you guys. The way that we connect with people is super important. If I can make it even more specific on what works for me specifically, of course, it's different. I'm a very extroverted person. I don't believe that introverted person don't need connection, of course, but maybe it's a bit more intimidating in some cases for some people. Is to actually, when you go to a new place, ask for introductions by fellow nomads. If you don't have a big nomad family yet, or a big group of friends who are also nomads, then you can seek local events. Maybe there are meetups by other nomads. Maybe there are startup meetups. There could be something else that you're into. Could be even a sports-related event. These days, I think a lot of cities and regions have become so much more interesting because we now have Facebook and social media to promote our events on. There are events on Facebook. There are Facebook groups for nomads in almost every country, and sometimes even more specifically for Bali, or specifically for a city or a town, where you can ask questions, where you can try to meet people. You can post something saying, hey, I just arrived. I'd love to go co-working with someone, or for a coffee. It doesn't always have to be big groups. And I think that seeking that out is actually a hard shift for many people, because your social life in a normal setting, as you mentioned, Tarek, geographically decided, is what happens to you. You end up hanging out with people who were put in your situation, not necessarily out of choice. And this does take some extra effort to seek out the people who you think you connect with, or where there's a higher chance that you find someone that you can potentially call part of your own community. So this is definitely something that needs to change for some people to make it sustainable and to actually enjoy it, right? But moving on to the last question, actually, what do you see as positive in all these changes? Would you like to answer first, Alex?
Positive in all these changes. I mean, freedom, flexibility, the ability to organize yourself, your schedule, travel, like so much, right? There's also like a part of, maybe you haven't addressed that, yet today, but a part of responsibility as you work remotely, as you organize your own schedule, as you have more freedom, whether you work for someone or you have your own business. Now it's on you, right? You have to kind of like manage things. You have to be your own leader, right? Manage your mindset, your energy, your schedule, your everything, the habits. And that's something that was really key for me when I was traveling nonstop, moving countries for 2 years, nonstop, and growing my business, in the process. And I just had to really like learn that, right? This self-leadership as I moved around. So I think this is really important. And, like this side of like being aware of like this ownership that comes with this, next to all the positive things, right? Other positive things is, of course, like, working remotely, getting to see beautiful places, meet a lot of people, grow your network, right? Open yourself up to opportunities. Like so many beautiful things have happened to me as I traveled. I participated in events, I gave talks, like everything, but I would highlight actually the side of like also being mindful of like, very often, I don't know especially if it's the first time working remotely and traveling and so on, digital nomading, there's a part of responsibility that comes with it as well. That at least for me was key, because I wanted to continue running and growing my business and my team. And without me being in my best mindset and energy, I couldn't actually do that. So it became really clear very fast as I changed time zones all the time, and I enjoyed everything, and I met people, and it can be kind of very high, a lot of stimuli, right? Just coming your way all the time, and you're very kind of like potentially distracted, and there's all this amazingness. But then, like, if you want to still like have a professional life that works and that grows, for me, it was really key to just, take that part of ownership as well, and self-leadership, and find habits and routines that work for me as I travel to stay in my, like, in the right zone, basically. So, and I see that with many clients as well that become digital nomads and that start traveling. It's like, oh my God, like, how do I handle that right now, right? Like, I can go with these people here, I can visit this, and then like, when do I work and how am I productive? So it's just the other side of the coin that I think is important. And once you find your own rhythm, then it's good, I guess. But plenty of positive sides.
Thank you, Alex. What about you, Tarek? What do you think is good about this change?
So many things. Well, first of all, I agree with what Alex has shared. I think there's just so much to say about the freedom, the flexibility, the growth that can come from this. when I look back at my past life in the suit and tie world of New York City, I remember my last year there, I was waking up at 4 a.m. so that I can drink some coffee, make my way to the gym, so that I can do the 5 a.m. boot camp, then run back home, hop in the shower, shave, put on the suit, and then either take the subway to work that would take almost an hour, or ride a bicycle, and then do the whole thing on the way back home, and then do the dry cleaning. It's just like so much stuff that is now removed from the time, the cost, the stress. So that's remote work in general, but especially the nomading aspect. I really feel lucky that I made that change 8 years ago, because now I get to go learn about the things I want to learn about by living somewhere. I mean, you can go to a place that you want to learn to surf, or you want to learn how to tango in Argentina, or you want to learn anything special about a certain place. You can really kind of, work-life balance, they say, but sometimes I feel like it's not even balancing work and life, it's just integrated. And sometimes I find myself at a birthday party for brunch on a weekday. That would never even be a consideration, or do an interesting workshop that came up. So I love the flexibility. And then lastly, the growth. I mean, like I said earlier, I think the best thing is that you can actually surround yourself with the people you want to surround yourself with, and explore, both literally explore geographically, but also like explore within by challenging yourself to learn new things, and just continuously to find new ways to enhance your quality of life.
Yeah, that's amazing, Tarek. Thank you for sharing your point of view with me. Alex kind of already hinted on the downsides of this, and we have a question from a person in the chat as well. What are the bad parts about working this way? And may I just say something before you answer, Tarek? If you're looking for excuses to not work remotely, this is not going to be it. Just so you know. But let's dig up some bad parts about this, Tarek, shall we?
Yeah, sure. Well, there is something to be said about routine. To get some real progress in certain goals, having a very specific routine. And not that you can't do that as a remote worker or nomad, but it's very tempting to try new things when you're in a new place. And even just moving around, there's a lot of transactional costs, not just financially, but time and decisions. I mean, you can only make so many decisions in a day. And so when you're nomading around, it can be stressful to like figure out where you're going to stay, how to get set up, and all that kind of thing. And that can be pretty draining. I think the one that I've seen the most, and is this loneliness path. It can be lonely if you're not, especially when you go to a new place and you're not connected, and it can be a bit disorienting sometimes. So I think, I don't think it's for everyone. I think it's also just realizing that real life happens even when you're in these exotic places. You can't go to the sunset on the beach every day if you have to work, and you're making these hard choices all the time that sometimes when they're not available, you might feel even less stressed because you didn't even know those were an option. So there's a serious level of FOMO, fear of missing out, that I feel, and I know a lot of my friends feel. So I think those are a few of the downsides. Overall, I'm not discouraging anyone. I think it's a great path. But, to sum up, I think of it as a roller coaster where, you might have a few lower lows than you would have had, but you'll have a lot more higher highs.
Beautifully said. Yeah, I think I do agree with you. It is not for everyone, but as Alex also said earlier, it's all about finding your own rhythm. You could travel, have one base, and maybe travel 3 months out of the year and just spend a little bit more time. And to me, weekend trips sounds like madness to me. So you're working all week and then you're going to exhaust yourself on a weekend in a different city to only tick off boxes of things that you've seen, only to rush back and go back into your rhythm and be completely destroyed that week. what about spending a few weeks in that place, actually meeting some locals, actually getting lost through the streets of the city or town that you're at, and really getting to know it? Of course, there's no amount of time that will suffice to know it really like a local would, but it would allow yourself a different kind of experience. And I was trying to think about that reasons, but I still don't have enough. I do believe that what you mentioned earlier, Tarek, about loneliness, this is one of the biggest fears people have, because they imagine this could be a very lonely life. I will say that if this is not something you would like, I would say maybe if you're not a nomad yet, plan your destinations based on where a lot of nomads are in that particular time of the year. So Tarek, for example, Bali, it's you can't swing a stick without hitting 3 nomads probably. What's a good time to go to Bali, for example?
Well, year round it's pretty popular, but the rainy season is what is it? October,
November, December,
yeah. January, like those few months.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little less busy those days, those months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think what a lot of the nomads do is they chase the seasons. So they spend, the year, like in Europe, the summers often. They kind of chase the weather based on what they're looking for.
Yeah, I agree. Most nomads I know seek the sun, and perhaps some skiing here and there, which could also be all over the world. But in the rainy season that Tarek mentioned, a lot of people tend to go to Thailand, for example, upcoming end of November. Buenos Aires will be the place to go, because we'll have the conference there, and a lot of nomads are going to come in for that. Hopefully, Tarek and Alex, you will join us as well. And Alex, in Europe, great months to be in Europe as a nomad are just the summer months, right? So June, July, August, September, maybe even May. Are there any nomad hubs that you'd like to highlight, Alex?
In Europe, I would highlight actually the south of Europe outside of high season. So, mid-July to mid-August, you have everyone is in Spain, Italy, Portugal, and it's beautiful places. But I like to go there just before or right after, right? So May, June, for example, Spain, Portugal, Italy, it's perfect. The weather is beautiful. And there's, digital nomad hub around Barcelona and all the coast there in Islas Baleares and also Canary Islands, right? So, in Portugal, Lisbon, definitely, right? Like I've been there, so many times. So I don't know, I would highlight, the south of Europe, outside of summer season. Yeah. And then in the north of Europe, yes, I mean, there's, like all the capitals basically have hubs, co-workings, lots of co-workings, lots of co-livings, lots of events, like, Amsterdam, London, Brussels, even like, I would recommend more like the south of Europe.
Awesome. Okay, so I think have we covered everything, Alex and Tarek, or is there something that you think we should have mentioned that we haven't yet around the future? I now imagine a meme of a lady with a glass ball and saying, "Oh, there's this." Okay, I see from your faces that we can move on. Let me see. Are there any questions? The people who have tuned in, do you have any questions for us? We have 5 minutes of questions. Someone's asking about the EU digital COVID certificate. Not sure. I don't know anything about it. Do you guys happen to know anything about it? It's also, it will influence in the near future our travel, but
it's not active yet. It's not. They are working towards it, and it's a bit of a mess.
I believe it's not going on yet. There are individual countries who are opening up to people who've been vaccinated. In fact, if I may give a little bit of a travel hack tip, let's just say you are in Mexico and you would like to make your way to, I don't know, the UK or what it is. I'm just saying random countries, and it's not based on current legislation. Reverse engineer your journey. So if you are free to go to, let's say, Spain, and from Spain you would be able to go to the UK. Again, these are all fictitious countries. You'd have to look it up yourself to see. This is how you can make it to your actual end destination. So this is actually working for a lot of nomads here in Lisbon, where there's a massive community. We're a group of 9 organizers putting a weekly meetup together and also other events. We see new faces every week, and supposedly the country's closed. So that's just a little hint to not let yourself be discouraged by this pandemic. If you think you are healthy, safe, vaccinated, and you're not at potential risk yourself or putting other people at risk, by all means, there are ways. So yeah, I don't see any new questions that we haven't addressed yet. This is your last chance before we wrap it up. I think this is it. I wanted to highlight a couple more things. Alex, you have an amazing offer for our community and the people who've tuned in today. You have a great course called the Full Potential Essentials course. Would you like to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. It's a course I developed actually after traveling and growing my business, as I traveled and building a remote team as well. And it's all about basically the main thing that I had to work on, managing your state and your routines and your habits, no matter where you are. So you are always in your best mindset, energy, physiology, state, all of that, so that you can do your work as you move. For me, this was major. I couldn't grow my business and keep on traveling and changing time zones all the time without working on that. So I hired a bunch of coaches and mentors to coach me digitally as I traveled. And then I developed this. So to really basically learn how to manage, no matter where you are, location independent, set of routines, to learn to get yourself into the best state, have the best internal identity inside of yourself, so that you're telling yourself the best, things about yourself and the world, and also manage your energy. So this is, again, very personal, but, learning to connect with your own natural biological rhythms and just sync everything to you so that it works for you and you enter a flow, no matter where you are. So you are like this kind of like nomad ninja, and you can just work from anywhere in your best energy. So it's something I love and I love to work on and talk about. And I developed this mini course. It's like a 4-week course, and you have a discount on top of a discount if you get it. I think it's active for 1 week. So yeah.
Yes, awesome. Thank you for giving us that offer. So it's 50% off with the coupon code NOMAD. It's normally priced at $59, so it's a 50% off. Definitely a good deal, and super important to get into your own flow, to make this lifestyle work for you. Tarek, you also have something amazing to give to our actually a couple. It's like a whole goodie bag for our community. A lot of people are tuning in from Buenos Aires at the moment. And of course, in November, when a lot of people will join us for the conference, they will be able to, if they are interested in giving back to Buenos Aires, to the city, to the people, you've created a pack for them to get involved. Can you tell us a bit about it, Tarek?
Yeah, sure. So my team at Nomads Giving Back, we're all about inspiring nomads and global citizens around the world to connect more locally and to give back to the communities. And we do this through advocacy, fundraising, and volunteering efforts. We have a free volunteer matching program. And specifically, we also have giving back guides. And we just created and published today Giving Back to Buenos Aires guide. So you can find that on our website, nomadsgivingback.com. It's free, so help yourself. And also, if you're looking to volunteer, we also have a free volunteer matching program I mentioned. And also, our team We also launched Nomad Skillshare, which is all about helping leverage the power of our community to share the skills so you can live the life you imagine. And we are just kicking this off. But next on Tuesday, we have a storytelling workshop led by my dear friend Jennifer. And I can put the details in below on the Facebook Live. And we have another masterclass by our friend Jordan that's going to be all about the remote job search process. So I'm happy to offer your community 50% off as well.
That's awesome.
We'd like to see some of you join.
I love that. It's so useful. And I think for people who are aspiring to become nomads or are trying to figure it out right now, this is just what Alex and Tarek just shared with you will propel you into, it will probably save you months of preparation. So do get those offers, guys. It's a limited time, Tarek, as well? Or yeah, these workshops are happening next week, isn't it?
Yeah, next week and the week after.
Got it. Okay, cool. Alex, I think your coupon code expires in 1 week. It's the 9th it's Wednesday the 9th as we record this. So in case you're watching this back later, bear in mind. Guys, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and time with us. We really appreciate it. Of course, I'm looking forward to seeing you in Buenos Aires. I'm sure you haven't made a decision just yet because it's only June, but who knows? Have you guys been, by the way?
Yeah, I love Buenos Aires. It's one of my favorite cities.
And Alex, you've also been.
I love Argentina. I'm obsessed with Argentina since I'm very little. I have my family grew up there, so it's like I have roots there, and I traveled around it, and I loved Buenos Aires, also Patagonia, loved it. So I don't know, I can't wait to go back.
Country. Yes, and of course the Argentines in Buenos Aires, we have the Porteños. I think they're so much fun and so great to hang out with. And yeah, can't wait to see you soon. All the best to you guys. It's very late where you are, Tarek, so have a nice rest of your evening.
Thanks so much for hosting this. I really enjoyed the discussion.
Yeah, it's great.
And thanks to Tato for having us. And yeah, really excited about the nomad movement growing in Argentina.
Thanks so much, guys. This is great.
Thank you so much.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye, Alex.
Bye.